Now that we have our vocal track of the poem recorded, it's time to start building the tone that we'd like to share through this project. The best way to do that is to use the loops that are already included. So click on the loop symbol over here in the top right, and you'll see all the loops that are included with GarageBand. You can sort them in different ways. You can click on Instrument and get all the different types of instruments that are available through the loops, piano and drums, guitars. You can also select a genre. And so if you want loops that are more jazz or funk or country, then you can choose those. You can also choose descriptors, which might be easy for this project because you can choose loops that are cheerful or maybe some that are more intense or dark, and that'll help you build that tone that you're looking for. They also have this feature for favorites, and it's this little heart here at the end. You click on that, you'll notice all the ones that are sorted now have the little box check marked. And so that's what happens when you favorite a loop. So if you find a loop you really like, just check mark that box, and then it'll show up under your favorites, and it's like a little shortcut to find loops that you might want to use a lot. You can also click on this little icon next to the name, and that'll allow you to sort by the different types of loops. They have audio, MIDI, and drummer loops, and so you can check or uncheck mark those boxes to also sort by the type of loops. When you first open it though, it's sorted by name, and it's all the loops that you have available. Now you can also preview these loops before you choose to use them. So to preview one, you click on the icon right in front of it, and it'll play the little tune for you. To turn it off, click the icon again, and so you just go through, click on the different loops, figure out which one that you like, which one fits the tone you're trying to share with your listeners. And then once you do find that a loop that you want to use and meets your needs, then you just click and hold down and drag it over to your workstation, and then that loop will be automatically added to your project. So you can see here, my loop's already added, and it adds everything for me automatically. And so then you just go back, listen to another loop. If it's one that you want, do the same thing, click, hold down, and drag it over to your workspace. And then that one's been added as well. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these though, because I want to use the tracks or the loops that I've already shared with you through the asset. So if you come up to track, you can select to delete the track. Also, you can use the keyboard shortcut, which is Command Delete. It will ask you to confirm that, so go ahead and click delete. For this one, I'm going to use the shortcut, Command Delete, and then confirm that we do want to delete that track. And so now I'm going to go to my asset folder that you guys used. Close the loops here, because we're just going to use the ones that have already been provided. So just click from your folder, drag it directly to GarageBand, and it'll automatically add that loop to your project. And that's going to be the case for any loop that you have, any music file. So I'm going to go ahead and drop in all of those loops. So now we have them all added to the project. These are all the ones I'm going to use for this. Of course, you choose the ones that you want that best fit how you want to create tone with your project. So now that I have them all in here, I can start adjusting them. You can see if I put the cursor at the very end, I get the little repetitive circle. And so if you click and drag that out, it'll extend that loop and just loop it over and over until you want it to stop. And so I can just keep extending until I want that loop to stop playing. And so now that I have that stretched out, I want to go ahead and listen to that. And you want to listen as often as possible to preview those. But I don't want to hear these other tracks. So I'm going to click on the little speaker, and that will mute all these other tracks. And so now when I click play, I'm only going to hear the ones that are unmuted. That'll allow me to just listen a little at a time to what I have. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul, and sings the tune without the words, and never stops at all. So when you're done listening, you can click the stop, go back to the beginning. But now I can go ahead and adjust and drag the different recordings that I have of the vocal. I want to give a little bit more space because that's just my first kind of sound effect loop, but now I want to add some music. So I'm going to adjust everything a little bit and then add another loop. So I'm going to add the musical loop now to go along with the background sound, and then preview that by clicking the play button. Hope is the thing that flutters, that perches in the soul, and sings the tune without the words, and never stops at all. Alright, so that sounds good. Now I can go ahead and start making those adjustments, dragging those tracks around and extending them and continuing to preview what they sound like so that I get the sound that I'm looking for. So just drag the tracks to where you want them to start, and then adjust the length of the loop so it's as long as you want it to be, and just continually trial and error through that listening, adjusting so that you can get the sound that you want. It takes a little bit of time, but I think you'll be able to create exactly the type of tone that you're looking to create for this particular project. So now I feel like I got a pretty good idea of what I want it to sound like. I still have this track here that I haven't used yet. So I'm going to unmute that, and I'm going to click the little headphone symbol, which is the solo. And so what that does is automatically mute all the other tracks. And so now I can listen to just that track in isolation. Now it's not really the sound I'm looking for, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this track. I'm going to 2-finger click and then get the secondary options there to go ahead and delete and confirm. So right now you can see that I'm still a little bit under a minute for this particular audio file. So I'm okay extending everything a little bit to get closer to a minute. So I'm going to make some fine-tuning adjustments here to try to get my project to about a minute. And so now I have the basic creation of my project here. I have all the loops I want to use. Now it's time for me to start editing and mixing it down.